How's it going, everyone? Shiver here, back with another final review, this time talking about Clair Obscur Expedition 33. So welcome into my 60-plus hour playthrough of Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and wow, what a journey it was. I mean, let's be honest, not wanting to start this off too strong, but it is currently top contender for Game of the Year for me. So let's find out why. Oh, and just a quick warning, this will contain some spoilers, so keep that in mind. I do want to start with the story on this one, and honestly, I don't recall a sadder, more depressing start to a game in a long time. But Expedition 33 had me almost in tears in the first 10 minutes. It was unreal how the hell they started with such a depressing starting to a game. And if you didn't catch my earlier review, or if you haven't played it, the general premise is that every year a gamage happens. This is basically a countdown, and a number that is written on this thing called the monolith goes down every single year. And everybody that is above that year, so if it says 40, if you are 41, for example, or if you're 40, I believe it is, if you're still 40, you will basically just vanish from existence in a cloud of petals. And that's it. And so each year, this number is reduced by 1. And so each year an expedition is sent out towards this monolith to hunt down the Paintress, who is the person responsible for changing these numbers. We are Expedition 33, as you might have guessed from the game's title, and it started at around Expedition 100. I believe they missed some in between, but there's been a fair few expeditions. I think something along the lines of like 64 expeditions, something like that have been before us. And so far, none of them have succeeded. Every single one of them has failed. And honestly, this was interesting enough for me already, but I was not prepared for the twists, the heartbreak that lay in wait. My man Gustave will be forever remembered. Tomorrow comes, brother. and that's not to mention the direction the story took in the end. I mean, overall, it turns out that this world that we lived in, this world that we were existing in and fighting in, it didn't even exist. It didn't exist. We were just inside of a painting, if you can believe it. I'm not going to say too much more than that, but we were basically just inside of a painting. It kind of blew my mind when I found out. But it had me guessing, speculating, and I was so excited to see what came next. I was constantly thinking, oh, this is happening, and drawing all these lines together and then seeing all these pieces finally come into place just felt super rewarding. The story just had me from start to finish, and honestly, I loved it. I loved every bit of it. And for me, well, at least presented to me, there were 2 endings. You got one or 2 choices. I chose, in my opinion, the best ending of the 2. I YouTubed the second ending after I picked mine, because I couldn't find a way to re-experience it. And again, without spoiling too much, but with obviously a little bit of spoilers here, I did choose to fight against Maelle, or Alicia, and force her out of the painting. But that was the choice I chose. It was bittersweet, but necessary, and honestly, let the family heal and move on with their grief. I think it was the best one of the 2. But moving on to the gameplay. Well, the gameplay was a love-hate relationship for me. I love turn-based RPGs in all their glory, and Expedition 33 delivered it in spades. So I loved it. The character building, the stat progression, the weapon upgrades all hit the mark without missing a beat. Every single thing about it, loved it. However, Expedition 33 added something to mix it up a little bit. They added QTEs, or quick time events. This applied to both attacking and defending. So for example, you could dodge or parry incoming attacks to completely negate the damage. Sounds great, right? Well, for me it was and it wasn't. The problem I experienced time and time again was that many of the attack timings just fell off in relation to their animations. So when you visually thought that an attack was about to hit you, you would dodge or you would parry, and you would be too early or you would be too late. And honestly, that happened so many times, it got to the point where I didn't even know what I was doing wrong. It felt like I hit the timer right, the attack swung in, I dodged it or I parried it, and I still received damage. And what this resulted in was me missing many parry and dodge windows. Time and time and time again on a regular basis. And when playing on the max difficulty, this usually resulted in a one-hit kill to pretty much everybody except the tankiest of characters. And as you can imagine, that gets extremely frustrating, especially when it became like later in the game there was a lot of party-wide attacks, and if you messed up one dodge, basically the entire team was done, or most of the team was done in one go. Now that's not to say the system didn't work. When it did, and it felt really good. It sometimes took too many frustrating repeat attempts against standard enemies for me to learn when the attacks would actually land and the timing and when I was supposed to parry or dodge. But when you nailed some of it, so when you managed to get like a row of just parries perfectly timed, one after the other, tack, 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 and then finally perform a counter attack to a ton of damage, it did feel really rewarding. I just think that the timings of the animations, when the damage is applied, or maybe even just a slightly altered window for the dodge and parry mechanic would have gone a long way to making the whole mechanic just feel a little bit better to interact with. And because in a lot of times I just built characters, especially one of my characters, I made them into just a very tanky character that was designed to take blows the rest of the team as well when they weren't party-wide attacks, simply because it was more reliable for me than managing to dodge or parry on a regular basis. So I don't know. It's a love-hate relationship. On one side, I liked the mechanic, and when it felt good, but honestly, a lot of the time for me, it felt very frustrating. Now, the QTEs for the attacks, I don't really have much to say about them, except that they were fine. You know, basically what it did was it would add additional damage, or it would add additional effects to attacks. So when you attack, you would have to press spacebar, or I think it was spacebar for me for the majority of the time, to add additional effects or additional damages to land those attacks. Missing the QTEs just meant not having those effects. Generally, I had no problem with it. I thought it was fine. It worked, and it was certainly, for me, more enjoyable to interact with than the dodge and the parry mechanics. Next up, exploration and map, I guess. Expedition 33 had map exploration, which was quite nice, but something I didn't really expect. It was basically an overworld map, so we got like an overworld map, and it just facilitated movement between the various different instance locations. And as you progress through the game, your ability to traverse this overworld map changed and altered and got bigger and better and fancier and faster. So essentially it just continued to grow the map because you were able to access areas that you weren't originally able to access to, which also made you sort of come back to previous locations because some of the areas you wouldn't be able to get to, you wouldn't be able to pass through a specific type of terrain, or maybe the instance was in the air, and so eventually you had to come back to earlier zones and repeat stuff, and it was good. I liked it. It was an interesting way to do it, and on the overworld map there was also things to interact with, like certain bosses were there was enemies to fight, there was merchants to find, just little quips like that to go through, and yeah, I liked it. It was fun. The thing that I liked the most, I think, though, is that each area, zone, location felt so unique. Everything on the map just looked great. It had its own look and feel, its own theme, and usually its own enemies as well, which, honestly, with the combat thing, was sometimes a bit more frustrating because you would just finish learning one enemy type, and then you move to the next zone, and it's like, oh, great, new enemies to learn. Okay, here we go again. But it also kept the variety high, which was kind of nice. And there were some repeats later on. I'm not saying that everything was unique, but it was mostly unique stuff, which was really quite nice. And what I did like as well was some of the areas were completely void of really anything except kind of like a nice backdrop or a really interesting scene. And all that was in that instance was like an item to collect, like a new music to play at the camp, or a specific item to upgrade your weapons or something like that. And they were nice. I didn't have any real problems with that. I just thought it was kind of a nice touch to it. But everything would always offer you something, so it didn't really matter if there was enemies in there or not. You would still get something for going there. And of course, there were some other zones like that had mini games or puzzles to overcome for rewards, but everything felt rewarding and worthwhile. So, you know, it definitely had me going back to locations or visiting almost every location. I think I did visit every location. Even if some of the locations were too high for me, I still went and had a look around and got a general feel for it. Music and sound. Honestly, I don't think I need to say much more than this regarding the sounds. But I will. Sound was fantastic. From the opening area where we first experienced the gamage and like the sadness to it, the kind of tone that was brought through with it, to the fight with these mimes was one of my favorite music themes, to some of the incredible battle music that was just present constantly in this game. I don't think I heard a single bad song in the game. That's something I didn't like. They absolutely nailed it. It was just so good.
A storm is coming. Feel the burn.
Every ability, all the character quips, all the voice lines, all of them were on point.
Out of the question. I will never join you again.
There will be a lot of fighting, though.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's true.
There will be a lot of fighting.
Exactly.
Count me in then.
Good.
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 Yes, good.
Honestly, I feel a bit odd when there's so little for me to say about something, but honestly, I just don't think I need to. Expedition 33's musics and sounds, they just speak for themselves. You know, they're absolutely just incredible, and I have nothing bad to say about them at all. Did want to mention the minigames. I mentioned it briefly just before, and I want to say it again, the minigames. Now, the minigames were honestly they were a lot of fun in general. I had a lot of fun with the minigames. I did attempt every single minigame. I beat every single minigame, in fact. I beat every single minigame, except one. And it's probably the only minigame I didn't actually enjoy, and it's this one. Yep, that's volleyball with exploding gestrels. It's a very interesting idea, and honestly, it can go to hell. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you, it could just go to hell. I hated everything about it. And it was the only one I didn't complete. I did the easy and I did the medium, but the hardest was just too much. I just couldn't get it. I tried so many times, and honestly, I couldn't bring myself to going back. I found myself getting so frustrating with this game. The timing, the positioning, the speed of the projectiles, all of it just kind of felt off. And that's not to get started with the camera angle and the directions, and it just, everything about it frustrated me. And honestly, I felt a bit sad that it was the only one I didn't completely finish. Every other minigame I completed, like the tower climbing, the jump puzzle, the racing, like the race kind of, the speed race kind of puzzle, all of them I liked, all of them I finished, all of them I 100%ed. And I got the swimsuits, because you get a swimsuit for completing every single one of them. I got the swimsuits for all of my characters, so I was happy. But the volleyball can go to hell. Other than that, they were fine. And so overall, Expedition 33 is an exceptional game and a great journey full of twists, heartaches, and laughs. Despite some of the issues I had with the minigames or mechanics, I do rate it as one of the best turn-based games released in recent times. And I cannot recommend it enough, especially to anyone who enjoys turn-based RPG games, story-based games. I mean, if you're worried about the mechanics of the QTEs, for example, that might be too much or too difficult for you to deal with, just knock the difficulty right down and just enjoy it for what it is. The story, the experience, it's exceptional. It's a thoroughly exceptional experience. And yeah, currently one of my best games of the year, if not my best game of the year so far. I know there's a couple of games coming out this year that are lined up to be pretty decent, but Expedition 33 is definitely up there with the heavy hitters. And yeah, phenomenal experience. Really well put together. Highly rated. And that's it. That'll do it for this review. I hope you found this useful. If you did, leave a like, subscribe for more. I do these for every game that I finish, or at least the recent games that I finish. I go live every single day on YouTube and Kick, so please do come along and watch the live streams. I'd love to have you there. I'd love to have your support, and thank you for your time. I appreciate it. So until next time, take care, and bye-bye.